In today's episode, we're gonna talk about my experience building this van in 3 months, how much money I spent on the conversion, and what went well and what we would have changed.
So this being the last episode is a really nice one to be able to sit back and kind of reflect on the whole experience of just building a camper van. Mel, how do you feel about the general experience of building this camper van over 3 months?
It was full on. I didn't expect it that, to be honest. I was hoping, or I thought we could get a bit more surfing in. But I realized pretty quick that if we chill, we're not gonna make this in like half a year. But in general, like, I love learning all those new things and working together with you. So thanks again for doing this. I think through this time pressure, it was like we both were a bit stressed sometimes, and we did have some arguments or disagreements sometimes. On things, how to tackle things, basically.
Yeah, I guess we did have the time pressure, which adds a whole nother element, but also just working on something that kind of you care about so much. Of course, there's always going to be room for disagreements, and a little disagreement, I guess, matters when you really care about the end result, which Mel did. Which was fantastic and was why we were able to get such an awesome result in this van. And of course, I care about vans myself. So yeah, there was definitely some potential for disagreements throughout the build. But yeah, I guess it's all part of it, and just being able to move on and find common ground where you're able to. But of course, the flip side of that is, which we haven't quite addressed, is how nice it is to have somebody there to kind of bounce things off and to have somebody in your corner while you're going through this experience. Because I've done vans alone, and just the decision fatigue alone can be absolutely brutal, having to make every call yourself and not being able to lean on anybody. So although, there's a lot of tension can build and you can have disagreements, I guess having somebody else there to help you through the experience is absolutely worth it, and a really huge positive, actually. First mistake of the build was my fault, and it happened before we'd even begun the build, which was to assume, or to tell Mel and to tell everybody, that we could do this thing in 1 month.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it's not gonna be 1 month. I planned with 1.5 or maybe 2, but at the end it literally took us 3 months. Until we finished it completely. So yeah, and also, I mean, we worked full time on this 7 or 6 days a week.
Which sort of takes us straight into the second mistake, which caused, we've sort of estimated maybe a 3-week delay or extension on the time, which was the rust on the van.
Yeah. So that literally took us 3 weeks to get rid of it and to repaint and everything. So if you don't have much rust on your van, you can
celebrate.
Yeah. So if you buy a van with exterior rust, maybe really consider getting it done by professionally.
And also seriously lean on that in negotiations when buying the van. Yeah. Because that is such a headache. So really push for a huge discount if that's the case. But once we moved on to the conversion itself, more or less we were really happy with how everything went.
Yeah, definitely. I have actually nothing until now what I wanted to change on the inside.
Well, that's good to hear. Obviously, it's my opinion that this layout is super practical, but it's just as far as the quality of the finishes and how we're able to put it all together this time around with some updates on the finishes and the styling, thanks to Mel. I'm just absolutely blown away with it myself, even though it's not my first time building this exact same van. Mel's input has really just taken it to another level. So Mel was huge on the styling of the van, but also wanted to really get her hands dirty and sort of learn every single step along the way and be a part of the entire build process. So what was your favorite part of the build? Yeah,
so my favorite parts on the van were definitely the electric, just getting all the cables.
Rough in,
exactly. And then the soldering the cables and just all the connections, and seeing at the end that it's that it worked. Like all the work we put in was right at the end. That's one part I really enjoyed. I also enjoyed like some smaller parts which were quite fast and easy. Like for example, the insulation and the flooring was like fast, and you could see changes quite straight away,
Yeah,
basically.
you have instant gratification.
Yeah, exactly.
Just see it done. The van looks different straight away.
Yeah. And also in general, I like the woodwork, like cutting with the jigsaw and the circular saw. And yeah, that's just fun.
Yeah, literally just getting your hands dirty,
Yeah.
I think, and getting stuck into it, which I guess that did kind of show. I came into this knowing that Mel wanted to learn a lot as much as possible, which is what sort of excited me about this opportunity the most as well, to be able to walk somebody through in person next to me doing this whole process, which is what I'm trying to do via all these videos actually. So it was cool to see, particularly with the woodworking, to be honest, how quickly Mel just picked it all up, and obviously had some prior experience, which I'm not sure I knew actually. But yeah, just things like cutting with the jigsaw and the circular saw that can be quite intimidating at first. She handled really well doing some curved cuts with the jigsaw and things like that. It all went really, really smooth, which is a bonus, an added bonus, because it doesn't always have to go that way. You know, a lot of people doing vans have whatever experience they do, and then they can build their van to whatever level that they are able to, and that's really cool. But yeah, it was cool just in this case that Mel was able to absolutely smash it.
Yeah, and definitely I think also saved time because I could literally work by myself on some things.
Well, that's what you think was happening. I was always keeping a watchful eye.
I was keeping an eye on you.
I was watching you to
Not
make
messing
sure
it up.
Yeah, you were doing your cables right, and you were watching me to make sure I wasn't scratching the floor.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty obvious that the 12-volt stuff, all of the electrical work, is a huge favorite for everyone because it's such an interesting topic. And I think it's also really rewarding because it is more challenging. It's more difficult.
Yeah.
You don't just know all of that stuff off the top of your head. You do have to sort of apply yourself and really try to learn what the hell is going on and what you need to put into the van.
What I really did not enjoy was, again, the rust.
I'm happy that this is done. And for everyone who's just started with the rust, keep going. You got this.
But that's part of it, I guess.
Was there anything that you, other than the rust, you kind of, you just had to do to get through it? Anything that was...
Yeah, also making the stencils. Like doing the stencils for the cupboards, like upwards, and then you have to be in all those dimensions in the right angle, and that was really, I struggled a lot with. Like, I think even you took over then at some point because I was so frustrated with myself because I couldn't handle it myself.
I think stencils in general is tricky, or not tricky, but just you don't realize how often you need to make stencils to do a build.
Yeah, that's true.
Everything pretty much, because there are no straight edges, you pretty much can't prefab, or to fit this much in a van, you can't pre-build anything and put it in. It all needs to be custom, and the only way to do custom really is to build a stencil for each piece that you're putting in before you do it. So that, it takes time. I guess it should be said that this took us 3 months doing more than full time purely because it is so custom. Like, we really did not compromise anywhere really. I guess it could be done quicker if you're willing to accept a few lesser standards. But now I feel like I'm kind of shaming anybody who wants to take less time and not do like this insane Instagram van. But
no, I mean, you definitely can do it with less time if you just make it easy for yourself. But that's just not what we wanted to do.
Yeah, true. At the end of the day, what I actually say quite a lot at the beach is the two vans are both pulled up at the exact same spot. The quick 1 month build that's just thrown together and the luxurious Pinterest van, they're both enjoying the same life at the end. So
yeah. 100%.
Alrighty, now moving on to the cost of the whole conversion. This is always a really popular question. So Mel, how much did you spend on the build?
On the build, I spent 9,500 Australian dollar.
Roughly. Yeah.
Like with everything, with the solar panel, the window.
Exactly. All the materials, all the bits and pieces, consumables, screws, whatnot, as well as your big ticket items like a $1,200 fridge.
You got a fridge.
And things like that. So 9,500 roughly. Would you have any comments on marketplace and getting second-hand items for the build?
Definitely check it out. There are some cool things online, and also like in general, you have such a small thing to fit out. So if people like get floorboards for their house, they easily have like 1 or 2 packages left and sell them on marketplace for cheap.
Yeah, that's true.
Same as the pine lining boards, just like the super basic things you can find definitely online.
That question maybe just exposes me a little bit more than anything, because it's probably natural to most people to look on Marketplace for secondhand deals and save some money wherever you can, but it's just for some reason not the way I'm wired, and I just go out and buy everything new. But anyway, that was Mel's kind of hobby for a little bit there, picking up or checking out Marketplace, getting some cheaper deals, and she was able to save a bit of money there. With the specific costs or the breakdown for all of the costs, as for like what the electrical system costs, the plumbing costs, the woodwork, that will be another video that I'll have to get to work on to break down, exactly what we spent where. But for now, it was a $9,500 build. So that's it for our series on Mel's Toyota HiAce Campervan. Thank you so much for being here. And if you haven't seen the other episodes, definitely go check them out, because we covered everything in heaps of detail, and just, spoken about Mel's experience throughout the whole build, which was really cool to capture. After this video, we're going to do a really in-depth van tour of this build, take you through all the bits and pieces, all the specs, and just show you basically the end result in heaps of detail. So you can see, what we were actually able to produce. Thank you heaps for watching, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you guys, and I might see you on the road. Bye.